Hey y'all, all my lovely couples out there. Welcome back to another emotionally honest sip and lean in episode of Hearts Wine from Heart's Distractions. You already know this space. It's where the wine is poured from our tears and the truth flows in waves. Of course, yes, I am your host, Alicia Minor Gaines, your relationship coach, wife, mother, entrepreneur, mixologist, author, poet, of course, and so much more. Now, before we even get too deep, I want you to breathe. Like, seriously, right now. Just take a few deep breaths because today we are pulling the cork on something that either broke you, rebuilt you, or still has your heart hanging by a thread. Yes, we're talking about betrayal. That gut punch, time freezing, reality warping kind of moment where the person you loved did the thing you swore they never would. Now, let's be real. Can you really ever trust someone again after they cheat? Or are we all just out here lying to ourselves, calling it healing when it's really just denial dressed up in Sunday best? Yeah, I said it. You know, I don't tiptoe around the hard questions. In today's episode, we're slicing into one of the most whispered about wounds in relationships. Yes, infidelity and whether trust can genuinely be rebuilt or if the crack in the glass will always be there, no matter how much glue you use. So, if you're listening right now and you've been cheated on or you've been the one doing the cheating, if you're sitting next to your partner pretending it's all good, but still checking their phone when they step away, or if you've forgiven someone, but you still flinch when they come home late, this one is for you. So grab that glass, sip slowly, because we are going deep today. Let's start with that moment, that discovery. You know, some folks call it D-Day. Not like the war one, but low-key like a war. Discovery Day, the day you find the text, the lipstick on the shirt, the changed password, the receipt in the back pocket, just the friend that somehow knows way too much about y'all's last argument. Let me tell y'all a story because y'all know I believe in painting pictures. We're gonna call this couple Jasmine and Corey. Jasmine had been married to Corey for 7 years. They had 2 kids, shared a bank account, had a Sunday morning pancake tradition, the whole 9, y'all. But something started to shift. Corey started sleeping with his phone under his pillow, taking showers with it. Jasmine, trusting at first, ignored it, like most women do. Until one night, the baby monitor picked up Corey in the living room whispering, "Yeah, I wish I was there with you too." And definitely didn't say that to the baby. Whew, she told me later, "Alicia, I literally froze. My chest got tight. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even cry. I just stood there listening like my soul had left the room before I did." That's betrayal. That's shock. And that is grief in full form, y'all. You don't just get over something like that. You unravel. And some of y'all are walking around unraveled, calling it healing because y'all didn't leave. Let me ask you something real. How did you find out? Pause for a second. Let your body remember the impact. Did you go through their phone while they slept? Did someone tell you? Or was it a confession that came 2 years too late? No matter how the truth landed, it changed you. And the first lie we tell ourselves is, "I just need time." Well, let me tell you what time does. Time gives you distance, but healing gives you clarity. And if we don't combine the two, if we don't actually sit with that betrayal and process it, then we don't grow from it. We just shrink around it. Now I know what some of y'all are thinking, but Alicia, people mess up. Shouldn't we offer grace? Absolutely. Grace is real. Growth is real. But grace without boundaries is self-betrayal. So let that sink in. And let's talk about therapy for a second. In marriage and family therapy, we recognize betrayal as a relational trauma, not just hurt feelings. Trauma. And just like with any trauma, your nervous system responds. You get jumpy, you're hypervigilant, you start asking questions you already know the answers to just to see if they'll lie again. And to make it worse, society tells you two things. One, if you stay, you're weak. And two, if you leave, you gave up. But can I free y'all from both of those today? Because neither choice defines your strength. The strength is in your healing. The strength is in how honest you are with yourself about what you're rebuilding and why. So let's pause here and ask the first reflective question of today's episode. If you've experienced betrayal, what was the first lie you told yourself about why it happened? Was it they didn't mean it? They were drunk? It's my fault because I've been distant? Or they're just going through something? Well, I want you to write it down, whatever it is for you or was for you. I want you to say it out loud. I want you to get honest with yourself. Because before we can even begin to talk about rebuilding trust, we have to understand what got broken in the first place. All right, I told y'all it was going to get real, right? So follow me. And if you already started drinking down that wine, you might want to top off your glass. Because this is where we're lovingly drag some of the worst relationship cliches into the daylight. Spin them around and see if they still hold water or if they leak like a dollar store wine bag. Let's start with the heavyweight champ of post-affair one-liners. Yes, I said it. Once a cheater, always a cheater. How many of you have heard that? Show of hands, even if you're on the treadmill, raise one in the air. Look, I get it. When your heart's been T-boned by betrayal, cynicism feels like self-protection. But y'all know this show is built on truth, nuance, and receipts. So let's pull a few. Marriage and family therapy meta-analysis roughly said that 55% of couples split after infidelity, 30% stay together in functional but fragile limbo, and 15% rebuild to equal or better satisfaction than pre-affair levels. The Gottman Institute did a longitudinal study, y'all, and this is as of 2023. And they said when the involved partner actively participates in structured rebuilding, atonement, transparency, empathy work, relapse rates drop to 12% after 2 years, about the same as couples who never had infidelity. So once a cheater isn't destiny. It's a probability curve shaped by accountability, remorse, and consistent change. But hold on. I can hear somebody in the back saying and whispering, "Yeah, Alicia, but my ex cheated twice, and his daddy was a cheater, and his granddaddy, so the shoe fits." And that leads us to myth buster number 2, which is cheating runs in the blood. So listen, generational patterns, yes, are real. What we model, we often repeat. But cheating isn't a genetic trait like eye color. It's a behavioral coping strategy wrapped in context, opportunity, and unmet needs. Quick classroom moment. Turn to page, pretend you have notes. Attachment science 101. People with avoidant attachment may seek distance through affairs. Folks with anxious attachment may cheat to preempt abandonment, but both patterns are learned, which means both can be unlearned if we do the work. So let me paint the picture for you. We're going to call this couple Zori and Mason. Zori grew up watching her father juggle 2 households. Everybody knew, no one talked. In her mind, cheating was an unfortunate given. Mason assumed fidelity as a baseline because his parents were annoyingly lovey-dovey from prom to Medicare. Fast forward, Zori and Mason date, they fall in love, but when conflict spikes, Zori's default defense equals flirt and text with a coworker. She isn't evil, she's scripted. Mason feels blindsided, of course. So, fast forward into therapy, I say to Zori, whose voice says this is normal for you? Zori said, my dad's, but I don't want his legacy. Boom! Pattern named, power reclaimed. Let that sink in. All right, Mythbuster number 3. This one stings because it weaponizes love. Reality? People can love you deeply and still betray you if their emotional self-regulation is trash. Love is necessary, but insufficient for rational safety, per Dr. Harriet Lerner. Translation? Love without integrity, accountability, and emotional maturity is like a Tesla without a battery. Pretty to look at, but ain't going anywhere. So yes, this Mythbuster number 3, if they loved you, they never have done it. I don't know, y'all. But here's a quick head and heart exercise. 1, this is a head question. What skills did my partner lack that led to betrayal? Was it boundary setting? Stress coping? Maybe. Heart question for y'all. What needs were they chasing? Were they chasing validation? Novelty? Escape? Maybe. Now here's a reality check question. Can those skills be learned and those needs be met within the relationship? So this is part of the segment where if you need to take a pause to kind of journal this moment, I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to take a sip of wine while you do, because those questions are important and they need time for reflection. All right. Mythbuster number 4, forgive and forget. Forgive? Maybe. Forget? Absolutely not. Healthy couples integrate the affair into their story the way a scar integrates into skin. Visible, sensitive, but no longer bleeding. Neurologically, the hippopotamus, your memory bank, will store the trauma. So the goal isn't erasure, it's recoding the memory to signal lesson learned instead of danger still present. All right, Mythbuster number 5. Surveillance equals safety. Some of y'all have turned FBI. Geolocation pings, shared passwords, daily selfie check-ins like parole photos. Surveillance soothes anxiety temporarily, but can't rebuild trust. Trust lives in the prefrontal cortex's expectation system, not in Life 360 alerts. Surveillance proves behavior. It can't produce character. Let that one sink in. For my LGBTQ plus listeners, here's a sidebar, because y'all been told there's different rules, but let's keep it inclusive, shall we? The myth here is queer couples cheat more because monogamy is a straight thing. Research from the Journal of LGBT Issues and Counseling 2024 shows similar infidelity rates across orientations. Key predictor is clarity of boundaries, not identity. The takeaway? Every couple, straight, gay, trans, non-binary, needs a written or spoken relationship contract defining exclusivity, openness, or whatever. Ambiguity breeds betrayal. All right, can we list one myth you've believed about infidelity that kept you stuck? Then rewrite it with truth. Blank leads to reality, and then enter your truth. So I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like. Once a cheater, always a cheater. The reality is patterns can repeat, but change is possible with radical accountability. Yep, I helped y'all out today on that one. Can I share a quick clip of a voicemail that I received? So this voicemail said, and of course I'm not going to use the real name, I'm going to use a different name, of course, and we're going to call her Michelle. This voicemail said, "Hey Alicia, Michelle here. My girlfriend cheated a year ago. She's in therapy doing everything right, but I still get flashbacks. Does that mean we're doomed? Well, my response was, Michelle, thanks for trusting me with that vulnerability. Flashbacks equals your brain replaying trauma. They don't predict future behavior. They signal unfinished processing. Yeah, so couples therapy focusing on EMDR or trauma informed EFT could help reduce those intrusive memories. Doom is not a given, sis. Needless to say, Michelle appreciated that comment, and her and her girlfriend are doing very well today. But let's bullet what actually change looks like. Can we do that? So, change looks like full disclosure, no trickling the truth, people. Empathy and action, meaning they soothe your pain without defensiveness. Personal therapy or relationship coaching. And I'm not just talking about just couple sessions either. There needs to be some individual sessions happening as well. Consistent transparency, phones open, schedules clear by invitation, and no surveillance. And the last one, behavioral follow through. Yes, 6+ months of alignment, not 6 days. Time matters, folks. If these aren't present, you might be nurturing an apology, not a transformation. So, poetry pause to help sink some of this in. Trust was a glass I handed you. You traced your name upon its rim, then tipped it, spilled it, shattered it, and swore the mess was just a whim. So now we glue each jagged edge with slower hands and steady breath, but every sip reminds my lips. The glass remembers death. Let that imagery sit in your spirit. Broken doesn't always mean unusable, but it does mean forever altered. All right, y'all. We busted the myths. We poured the tea in the wine. Now, let's get into the real. Because I've got a question for you. Are you actually rebuilding trust or just rewriting the story to survive the pain? Well, yeah, I know. That one hit, didn't it? I'm not judging because I've done it too. Sometimes we're not healing. We're just rearranging the furniture in our heartbreak so it looks presentable. Let's call it what it is. Denial. Now, don't get me wrong. Denial's got skills, okay? Denial will help you get up in the morning, make breakfast for the kids, go to work, smile on Zoom, even lay in the bed next to the person who cracked your heart open and somehow say, we're fine. Denial says, they didn't really mean it. It was just physical. Everybody slips up. And listen, sometimes denial wears designer. She shows up looking like grace, like forgiveness, like strength. But let me tell you, denial will always leave you emotionally bankrupt if you let her handle your healing. I want you to hear me on this, y'all. Denial is a survival strategy, not a healing strategy. It's the emotional equivalent of putting duct tape on a leaky pipe and telling your guests the kitchen flood is a spa feature. Okay? Follow me, y'all, because y'all know I'm about to paint the picture for you. And we about to call this couple Antoine and Charla. Antoine and Charla had been together 14 years, have beautiful kids together, great careers. They go on couple vacations. They were goals on Instagram. Hashtag Black Love, hashtag building together. But behind the filters, there was a secret. Antoine had reconnected with his college ex during a conference trip. It started with a "Hey Stranger" DM and turned into 2 years of casual texts, late night calls, and eventually one weekend in Atlanta that changed everything. When Charlotte found out, she was devastated, but calm. She didn't scream, didn't throw things, didn't even ask for details. She said, let's just fix it. Let's move forward. I don't want to lose our life. Antoine agreed. They never went to therapy. They never discussed what led up to the affair. They didn't touch the grief, the pain, nor the betrayal. Instead, they skipped steps and posted more selfies. But 2 years later, Charlotte told me during a session, I thought I forgave him, but now I hate him for how easy he sleeps next to me. Like his peace didn't cost me mine. That's what unprocessed betrayal feels and looks like. You ever feel like something's off but can't put your finger on it? That's denial growing roots in your body. Your nervous system doesn't lie, even if your words do. You might find yourself checking their tone for hidden meanings, avoiding certain topics to keep the peace, looking at their phone again, or waiting for the other shoe to drop, even when things seem okay. Let me give you the clinical side real quick. When betrayal occurs, your amygdala, the fear center in your brain, goes on high alert. That gut feeling you get, that's trauma trying to speak. And if you never deal with the trauma head on, you start performing forgiveness instead of actually feeling it. Okay, I want to welcome y'all to the 2025 Spy Phone Olympics. In lane 1, we have Fake Sleep Girl unlocking phones using Face ID while their man dozes off. In lane 2, iCloud Backup Betty, who has everything synced, including deleted photos. And in lane 3, Ask Me One More Time Marcus, who gaslights professionally. That wasn't me. You're always tripping. She means nothing comments. And the crowd goes wild. No medals, just more anxiety and two people too tired to love each other well. If that skit felt too real, it's because many of us are living it. I know I just got real on y'all real quick. I want y'all to grab y'all journals or your notes app, if you're listening on the go, and answer this. What was my immediate reaction to the betrayal? What have I done to heal, not just move on? Have I avoided confrontation in the name of peace? What do I fear would happen if I brought up the affair again? And have I forgiven or just gone numb? If the answers made your chest tighten, don't run from that. That's not weakness. That's your inner truth trying to breathe again. Let me tell y'all something personal. As a therapist and relationship coach, I've sat across from couples who fought not about the affair, but about how unseen the hurt partner felt after the affair. It's not just what you did, it's how you handled the version of me that showed up in pain. Did you rush my forgiveness? Did you minimize my triggers? Did you expect me to be over it in 30 days? Trust doesn't rebuild in silence. It rebuilds in intentional, awkward, honest conversations over and over and over again. So, a woman named Rhea, that's what we're going to call her, sent me a message on Instagram last week. She said, my wife cheated 3 years ago. We stayed together. We rebuilt. But I still get that knot in my stomach when she's out late. Not because I don't love her, but because part of me never felt safe again. That knot, that's the price of skipping steps. Unfortunately, they never did therapy, they never did relationship coaching, therefore there was no healing. So what does rebuilding really look like? Radical honesty, therapy that hurts before it heals, setting and respecting new boundaries, engaging in relationship coaching to have real-time impact, relearning emotional intimacy, and grieving the version of the relationship that died. Yes, something died, but something can be reborn. Only if y'all stop lying to yourselves. Answer this honestly. What parts of my healing have I skipped for the sake of getting back to normal? And then ask yourself, was that normal? Even healthy? I want y'all to hear my voice like I'm sitting on the couch next to you. You don't have to pretend you're okay to prove you're strong. You can be healing and still hurting. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. You can forgive someone and still decide not to stay. There's no shame in where you are. There's only shame in lying to yourself about it. Okay, couples, y'all refills ready? Because we are about to get nerdy on purpose. I'm talking lab coats, brain scans, and relationship petri dishes. We've sliced through myths, called out denial, and now it's time to answer the $1,000,000 question. What actually, chemically, neurologically, emotionally, puts broken trust back together? Spoiler? It is not your partner's 3-paragraph apology text at 2 a.m. with the crying emoji. So let's start with the framework that makes every couples therapy and relationship coach geek swoon. The tone, attune, and attach. I know y'all like, what? What is she even talking about? I'm gonna break each one of them down for you. A tone is your full, unfiltered ownership. It sounds like, I betrayed you. Here's how, here's why, no excuses. Attune? Well, that's where, learn to read, honor, and soothe the betrayed partner's emotional cues in real time. And attach? Well, we're reweaving intimacy through daily rituals that prove I'm safe again. Think of it like wine making. Attune equals crushing the grapes that represent messy honesty. Attune equals controlled fermentation. Temperature matters. Too hot and the flavor dies. And attach? Well, that equals bottling and aging. Patience turns tart to complex. If you skip a step, the batch spoils. And you can't slap a fancy label on vinegar and call it Merlot. Just saying. So, while class is in session, let me give y'all a pop quiz later. Maybe not. How about right now? So, let's start with oxytocin, aka the bonding hormone. Well, it surges during cuddles, deep eye contact, orgasm, and for us parents, in the bleary 3 a.m. baby feeding hours. After betrayal, oxytocin pathways get disrupted. The brain treats your partner like a possible predator instead of a safe haven. Y'all know I'm a science buff. I had to give y'all these. So just follow me. I know some of y'all rolling your eyes already. Cortisol is your stress hormone. Every late arrival text, every Instagram like from that coworker spikes cortisol in the betrayed partner's bloodstream. Chronic cortisol shuts down libido, digestion, even immune functions, y'all. Translation? Betrayal literally makes you sick. All right, I'm gonna give y'all one more. Mirror neurons. Those tiny empathy circuits? When the betraying partner authentically feels remorse, their facial microexpressions fire mirror neurons in the betrayed partner, signaling they get my pain. Faked remorse? Yep. Mirror neurons shrug and the brain calls BS. So any rebuilding plan must lower cortisol, reignite oxytocin, and keep mirror neurons humming. Fancy flowers won't cut it if the chemistry still screams danger. Remember our spy phone Olympics I gave y'all earlier? Here's the twist. Strategic transparency calms the nervous system. Obsessive surveillance inflames it. Transparency equals the betrayer offers info before it's demanded, such as, hey babe, here's my schedule screenshot. Text me if anything feels off. Surveillance? Well, that equals the betrayed partner extracts info like a CIA operative. That sounds like share location or we're done. Neurologically, voluntary sharing re-stimulates oxytocin. I chose openness, is what that sounds like. But forced sharing spikes cortisol. Cortisol, that sounds like I'm being policed. If you're the betrayer, think proactive honesty. If you're the betrayed, notice when reassurance slides into control. Then breathe, rewind, and ask for soothing rather than snooping. Told y'all I was getting real, y'all. I gave y'all some science on that one. Now I'm about to paint the picture real clear for y'all. We're going to call this couple Malik and Jada. Malik and Jada have been married 12 years. You know, those high school sweethearts turned mortgage partners. Malik's emotional affair began in a group chat that muttered its way into midnight FaceTimes. When Jada discovered the receipts, she felt hoodwinked, y'all. They came to me in crisis. Malik wrote a timeline of the affair. Every chat, every FaceTime, every feeling. It wasn't punishment, it was data. Owning the full story killed the trickle truth. For 90 days, they held a nightly 10-minute check-in. For me. Malik asked, "How was your trust meter today on a scale of 1 to 10? Whatever Jada said, he validated first before explaining himself. Her mirror neurons finally exhaled. They instituted Transparent Tuesdays, y'all. Yes, I love a cheesy name. Open phones on the table, shared Spotify playlist, a couple's calendar with color-coded work trips. After 6 months, cortisol down, oxytocin up, and guess what? They're not perfect, but the chemistry finally matches the apologies. Y'all see how I just broke that down for y'all? I hope y'all did. Hollywood sells us grand gestures, rose petal aisles, flash mob apologies, $1,000 rings. Chemistry, however, loves micro trust moments. You know, replying to texts when you say you will, remembering the morning coffee order, admitting unprompted, I felt tempted today, here's how I managed it, and consistently honoring new boundaries without rolling your eyes. Every micro moment is a neural rep. Think of it like bicep curls for your relationship. Skip reps, the trust muscle atrophies. Do them daily. It flexes without thinking. All right, I'm going to give y'all a quick refresher on some attachment styles and some healing speed here. Follow me on this one. So we have our secure partners, right? They see betrayal as one bad character, but they rebuild fastest. Why is that? Because they're very secure in themselves, in their position, and also having the thoughts around that security in the other person. That's deep, y'all. Anxious partners seek constant reassurance. You know, transparency helps, but therapy is vital to regulate internal alarms for them. Avoidant partners want to file betrayal under past mistakes and move on. Spoiler, it's not how this is done. And it's not how this works. Just being clear with my avoidance out there. And the disorganized partners, which are also called our fearful avoidance, they're the yo-yo between clinging and distancing, often reliving earlier trauma. They need trauma-specific treatment, like EMDR or somatic experiencing, to help with the healing process. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because if you're mismatched, say an anxious betrayed partner with an avoidant betrayer, you'll need extra empathy around speed. Healing is a marathon relay, not a sprint. Hand off the baton with patience, y'all. Let that sink in. Can I give y'all some key tools for rewiring trust? All right. Y'all want to have at least a weekly 30-minute State of the Union meeting. Yes, where you check in with each other about what wins did we have this week? Where did trust wobble? And identifying one thing you appreciate and one thing you need more of from each other. Glass table rule. This is any digital device placed on the table during shared time must be screens up, people, and unlocked. This symbolizes you not hiding anything from your partner, and that rebuilds trust. How about we add in some 5-minute truth huddle time? You know, before bed, each partner answers these 3 questions. How did I nurture trust today? How did I neglect it? And did I debate with anything that you asked me? rather than listening. Meaning, don't debate. Even during that conversation, you're listening, actively listening. Creating co-calendars is important here. Your shared Google or Apple Calendar with real-time updates. Seeing is soothing. Let's get clear on that one. And it builds reassurance. That's an added bonus for y'all. And the last one, individual therapy plus couples therapy plus relationship coaching. So although your relationship may be broken, you both also have some personal baggage that you're bringing in. And you need to be able to unpack both. That's how you rebuild trust here. All right, close your eyes unless you listen to this while you're driving. Don't do that. But feel your heartbeat. Is it fast or calm as you're listening to this? Picture your partner's face from Discovery Day. Does your chest tighten or soften? Now imagine them handing you their unlocked phone with a smile. What sensation hits first? Relief, suspicion, or numbness? I want y'all to be able to write that down for yourselves. These body clues tell you if cortisol is still driving the car. Awareness is step 1, but regulation is step 2. Let me give you a little poetic pause here. We graft new vines on fractured roots, hoping sweetness finds the wound. Each sunrise asks, will you pour or will you prune? Trust grows slow. Sit, don't swoon. All right, that's a little shorty for y'all, right? So I had another listener message me and saying how my husband is doing all the right things, but I still dream of him cheating. I wake up angry. Is this normal? My answer? Yes, honey, totally normal. Nightmares equal your hippopotamus reorganizing trauma files. A trauma-focused modality like EMDR can turn those midnight movies into silent credits, honey. Tell him you need post-nightmare soothing. Maybe a glass of water, a hug, let's breathe together. And over time, the brain learns I'm safe even in the dark. She tried that, y'all. It took some time for him to buy into doing some of that, but they got there with a little coaching. Okay. Here's a little red flag alert. If the betrayer gaslights or minimizes by saying it wasn't that bad, refuses transparency, privacy equals secrecy, blames you for their choices, quits therapy after 2 sessions, and repeats any level of deceit, then no amount of oxytocin hacks will rebuild trust. At that point, the science says, step back, protect your mental health, maybe exit stage left. Chemistry without character is kryptonite. All right, take a breath with me, y'all. And 2, 3, out. 2, 3. Feel that? That's your nervous system saying, we can learn safety again. It's possible. Hard, but possible. All right, take a moment for yourself. Lay your hand on your chest. Feel that beat. That's your heart reminding you that you're still here. You've survived the betrayal. You've cried the tears. Maybe you've gone back. Maybe you're still deciding. But whether you stayed or walked away, or you're somewhere in between, it's time we talk about the big F word. Yes, forgiveness. Not that churchy rushed, you have to forgive or you're bitter version. I'm talking about the real deal. The I've wrestled, I've raged, I've recentered myself version. So let's get this clear from the jump. Forgiveness does not mean permission. Forgiveness does not mean I'm okay with what happened. And forgiveness definitely does not mean let's pretend it didn't wreck me. Forgiveness is a release, a letting go, not for them, but for you. It's when you decide that what they did won't chain you to resentment any longer. Now, I know some of y'all are saying, but Alicia, if I forgive them, doesn't that mean I have to stay? No, boo. You can forgive someone and still say, I wish you healing, but I can't do that healing with you. You can love someone, even cry for them, and still walk away because staying would mean betraying yourself. Forgiveness is an internal act. Reconciliation, well, that's a mutual contract with work on both sides. In marriage and family therapy, as well as relationship coaching, we talk about something called trauma bonded grace. That's when the betrayed partner forgives too soon, just to stop the bleeding. It's like putting a band aid on a bullet wound. Looks neat from the outside, but the damage festers underneath. In those cases, forgiveness becomes emotional avoidance. You're not forgiving, you're disassociating. Let me say this gently but directly. Forgiveness without grieving is a setup. You have to grieve who you were before the betrayal. Grieve the version of the relationship that died. Grieve the future you imagined. Only then can forgiveness flow authentically, like wine that's been aged, not rushed. Let me paint the picture for y'all through Janelle and Tiara, who've been together for 4 years. Definitely a beautiful couple. Great vibes, the whole nine. Janelle made playlists for Tiara's moods. Tiara cooked for Janelle every Sunday. Talk about love languages in action. Then Tiara kissed someone else during a trip with her sorority sisters. Just one kiss. She admitted it the next day, crying, ashamed, terrified. Janelle said she forgave her. But 2 months later, Tiara was emotionally shut down. Janelle, spiraling, passive aggressive, withholding affection. And when they came to me, Janelle said, I thought I forgave her, but I'm still mad every time she touches me. I feel like I'm betraying myself. And that's the danger of performative forgiveness. When we skip grief, forgiveness becomes a mask we wear to look okay, but our body still holds the ache. Y'all know I keep it therapeutic and real, right? Well, can we break down the stages of forgiveness here? Yes, I'm going to give you 5 stages here. The first one is shock and rage. Yeah, you're mad. You should be, because rage is sacred. It tells us where our bodies were blown open. Number 2, processing and grief. You cry, you scream, you play sad music and write letters you'll never send. That's not drama. That is release. 3, clarity. You start asking yourself, do I want to stay? Do I need to stay? Do I love them, or just the version of me that existed with them? If those questions don't bring you clarity, I don't know what will. 4, forgiveness. This only comes after you've honored the loss. It feels like peace, not perfection. And 5, choice. And here's where it gets personal. Forgiveness can happen whether or not the relationship continues. That's up to you, not Instagram, not your mama, and definitely not your pastor unless they paying your therapy bill. I'm just saying, can we dispel this spiritual gaslighting real quick though? Some of y'all were taught that forgiveness equals forgetting, and that's false. That's toxic spirituality. We don't forgive to erase. We forgive to remember without reliving it every time. Big difference, right? Forgiveness doesn't delete your memories. It just rewires how your body reacts to them. That's where somatic therapy, breath work, meditation, and good old-fashioned journaling comes in. Healing is embodied. It's not just positive vibes only. It's full body truth. All right, grab your phone or journal again, and let's finish this sentence together. I told myself I forgave them because, but what I really needed was, hope y'all filled in that blank for yourselves. Let it flow. No filters, no guilt. You deserve to know your own truth before anyone else does. All right, can I give y'all another voicemail clip here from a client? We're going to call this client Marcus. Marcus said, hey, Alicia, so I forgave my wife after she cheated, and we're doing okay, but sometimes I feel weak for staying. Is that normal? Well, this is what I said to Marcus after telling him thank you for his honesty. I said, yes, it's normal, of course. It's normal to question yourself after choosing to stay. It doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. Staying after betrayal requires more strength than most people know. But here's the trick: you didn't stay because you're weak, you stayed because you believe something could be rebuilt. The real question is, are y'all doing the work or just existing in fear? If it's the latter, therapy or relationship coaching can help. If it's the former, give yourself grace. Forgiveness doesn't make you soft, it makes you powerful. No, I gave Marcus some good advice, y'all. I know. Give me those hand claps. I know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But let's get honest and let's keep it honest, can we? Sometimes your forgiveness is the closure. You forgive not to reconcile, but to release them from your nervous system. You forgive so you can sleep again, so you can feel joy again, so you can love again, whether it's them or someone else. You don't have to wait for them to earn it, but you also don't have to rush it. But you also don't. Let me give you another mini poem, okay? I forgave you, yes, but my body never did. She still flinches at late nights, hides her heart in ribs. I kissed you without tasting peace. I smiled with borrowed lips. So I choose forgiveness, but not the cage it sits within. I know. Give me those snaps, y'all. All right. So I want y'all to repeat this out loud. I am allowed to forgive and let go. I am allowed to stay and still grieve. I don't owe anyone a performance of peace. My healing will not be rushed. Say it again if you need to. This is your reminder. You can forgive, but you never have to forget what you learned. Okay, y'all. So far, we walked through betrayal, denial, the brain science, forgiveness, and now let's talk support. Because here's what happens to a lot of couples after infidelity: you're hurt, confused, or trying to rebuild, but you don't know who to call. Do you find a therapist? Do you hire a coach? Or do you just pour another glass of wine and call your best friend who's always been team breakup? Let me help you out, because I am both licensed marriage and family therapist and certified relationship coach. And yes, that's two hats, honey, not one big fancy one. Same head, but different purpose. Think of it like this: a therapist helps you heal from the past, understand emotional wounds, and process trauma. A coach helps you focus on the present and future, giving structure, accountability, and goal setting. But let's dig deeper into that, shall we? Let's do that for y'all. Therapists like myself, especially those of us trained in couples or marriage and family work, are licensed professionals. We're trained to diagnose and treat mental health issues like anxiety, depression, PTSD, and trauma responses, unpack childhood wounds, attachment styles, and generational patterns, and guide you through rebuilding safety after betrayal using clinical models like emotionally focused therapy, Gottman method, or internal family systems. We do all of this in a contained, ethical, and private space, usually weekly and sometimes bi-weekly. And no, we don't judge you. We've heard it all. Trust me. Cheating in Cancun, emotional affairs with your barista. Yep, we've heard it all. If you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, if trauma is flooding your body, or if you're having flashbacks, panic, or shutdowns, you probably need a therapist. Now, on the flip side, coaches don't go deep into trauma or mental illness diagnosis. Instead, we help couples get clear on goals, offer communication strategies and tools, create plans for rebuilding emotional intimacy, guide couples through conflict resolution, rebuilding routines or premarital readiness, and keep y'all accountable when things slip. A relationship coach is like your emotional personal trainer. You know what to do, but you need someone to help you do it consistently and in real time. Let me give y'all an example. Meet Coach Kai and therapist Theo. Let's say you and your partner just had a betrayal moment. Coach Kai is going to say, all right, let's write out your new trust agreements, set up weekly connection goals, and map out your love languages moving forward. We're rebuilding structure here. Now, therapist Leo is going to say, let's pause. We need to unpack what trust meant to each of you growing up. Where did you learn to hide pain? Let's get to the root of the betrayal pattern before we fix the behavior. Y'all see the difference? Coaches focus on the what now. Therapists dig into the why then most of the time, because there are other theories that allow us to focus on the present and the future as well. Here's when a coach might be your best move. You and your partner are generally stable but need a reset after a rough patch. You've already done therapy and now want a next step plan. You're premarital and want to avoid becoming another statistic. You need support navigating real-time conflict, text tone arguments, in-law stress, blending families. And you want weekly accountability and structure to keep from slipping back into old patterns. When should you choose a therapist? When betrayal triggered emotional flashbacks or panic? Childhood trauma is influencing your reactions. There's a pattern of emotional neglect or abuse. You or your partner struggle with mental health issues or addiction, and you're stuck in cycles are unhealthy but can't stop. Therapy gives you a container for safety, clarity, and emotional rewiring. Coaching builds the habits on top of that healing. If you've got emotional wounds and you want tools, do both. I work with many couples where I coach alongside their individual therapy. It's like having a heart surgeon and a personal trainer. Both are important, just as at different phases of healing. Ask yourself, am I stuck in my story or am I ready to write the next chapter? Do I need healing or strategy or both? There's no wrong answer, just an honest one. But let me say this. You do not have to be on the verge of divorce to reach one. You don't have to be in a full-blown crisis. Sometimes you just need a professional who doesn't love you like your friends do, someone who can hear your truth without an agenda. If it's me, great. If it's someone else, still great. Just don't try to rebuild alone. Even construction crews have a foreman. Therapy is for healing the past and understanding patterns. Coaching is for strategy, accountability, and forward movement. You deserve support that matches your stage of growth, not your guilt. Rebuilding trust after betrayal takes more than love. It takes tools, truth, and time. All right, couples, we've talked about betrayal, healing, forgiveness, and even how to rebuild the trust that feels like it's shattered into a million little glass shards. But now, we're about to talk about something people rarely touch when it comes to infidelity and healing: identity. Because betrayal doesn't land the same for everybody. Your gender, race, sexuality, culture, faith, and generation all shape how betrayal is felt and how healing happens. Let's be honest. Who you are determines how safe you feel to grieve and whether you're even allowed to grieve out loud. Two people can go through the same betrayal. One journals and calls a therapist. The other stays silent and cooks dinner like nothing happened. Trust, neither response is better. The difference is context, not just personality. We were all taught something about pain, whether it was to push through it, pray it away, don't air your dirty laundry, or if you cry, you're weak. So let's take a moment to honor that your healing isn't just emotional, it's cultural, it's generational, it's spiritual. And if we don't name those things, we end up calling people broken for responding to pain the only way they were ever taught to. Let's start with our elders, our grandmoms, aunties, uncles, and other generations who survived betrayal in silence. A lot of folks grew up hearing, What happens in this house stays in this house. And betrayal? Well, that was swept under the rug right along with everything else. You were taught to stay for the kids, or because divorce meant failure, or simply because no one talked about emotions in your household. You didn't go to therapy, you went to church. You didn't cry out loud, you poured yourself into being a perfect spouse, parent, or provider. And for some, you poured yourself into a bottle of alcohol, wine, or anything that felt soothing. And you wonder why now, as an adult, betrayal feels like suffocation because you never learned how to feel. You only learned how to function. Let that sink in. Now, let's talk about my LGBTQ plus family. Let's say it like this. You've already had to fight for your relationship to be seen as valid. You've already had to defend your love to your family, church, and sometimes even to yourselves. So when betrayal hits, there's an extra layer of loss. It's not just the cheating, it's the silence, the invisibility, the lack of safe spaces to talk about it. You might find yourself thinking, if I walk away, am I reinforcing what they already think? That queer love is unstable. Will anyone even understand this pain? Is it my fault because I already don't fit the mold? And let me tell you this with all the love in my heart. Your love is real. Your pain is valid. And your healing is necessary. And the love you shared was real. Let me give you an example here. Let me paint the picture. We're going to call this couple Avery and Malik. Avery, who went by they, them, and Malik goes by he, him. Definitely a beautiful queer couple I worked with that had so much joy, shared inside jokes, had family dinners together, all the things. But when Malik emotionally reconnected with his ex and started texting them daily, Avery felt like they vanished. They said to me, he didn't just betray our relationship, he betrayed the safety I finally found in my identity. Malik's response? I didn't even realize I was still carrying shame around emotional intimacy. I thought I could manage my needs without bothering them. That's intersectionality. Betrayal wasn't just about the cheating. It was about what it stole from their identity. Let's talk gender roles, shall we? You already know. If a man cheats, right, he just made a mistake. That's what men do. You should have kept him happy. But if a woman cheats, she's heartless. She must have been sneaky all along. She destroyed her family. And if a man gets cheated on, crickets, be a man. Get over it. So what do people do? Men bury it. Women overcompensate. And queer folks, they're often excluded from the conversation completely. But here's the truth. Betrayal breaks hearts regardless of pronouns. Pain don't care about your gender, but healing must. So can we go there and talk about faith for a second? Because some of y'all were told, if you love God, you'll forgive. Divorce is a sin. You have to keep the family together. But faith should never be a cage. You were cheated. You were not created to suffer in silence and call it salvation. I've had clients say to me, if I leave, I'll be disappointing God. But let me reframe that. Maybe honoring your healing is the holiest thing you could ever do. Somebody give me 2 snaps and a wave on that one, because we about to let that one sink in. Let me paint the picture through Tiara and Janelle. Tiara cheated during a bachelorette weekend. One kiss, full of regret. Janelle forgave immediately, wanting to move forward. But her forgiveness was fast-tracked because as a Hispanic woman, raised in a deeply religious household, she was taught a strong woman keeps her household together. Months later, her body said otherwise. She cried during intimacy, flinched during affection, and laughed less. because she was forgiving with her words, but her spirit never caught up. So ask yourself, what messages did I learn about cheating from my family, faith, and culture? Did I learn to heal or to hide? Have I been grieving as my full self or just the version of me that's acceptable to others? These questions aren't easy, but they open the door to healing that actually fits you. I promise. Betrayal lands differently depending on who you are. Healing that ignores identity is incomplete. You're not too sensitive, you're whole, and you have to believe that. And you deserve to be seen, not just in your pain, but in your process. Whew. All right, y'all. You've made it with me this far through the betrayal, through the heartbreak, through the forgiveness. But now, let's talk about what happens when you've done everything and you're still stuck in the same question. Should I stay or should I go? And listen, I'm not here to guilt you into staying, and I'm not here to hype you up into leaving. I'm here to give you clarity, because walking away and working it out, both are hard. Both take strength, but both have different kinds of healing waiting on the other side. So let's unpack the question that's been sitting heavy on your chest. Is it a breaking point or a breakthrough waiting to happen? I'm not going to lie to you. Staying after betrayal is a hell of a journey. You don't just get to move on. You don't just get to put it behind you. You got to face it, talk about it, build new routines, unlearn your triggers, relearn each other. If you choose to stay, it needs to be active, not passive. Don't stay because you're afraid of starting over. You don't want to explain the breakup to your family. You think your kids will hate you, or because it's been so long, might as well keep going. You stay because your partner is actively showing up, doing the work, changing their behavior, meeting your needs, and making you feel emotionally safe. If that's not happening, then baby, you're staying out of fear, not love. And we don't do fear-based relationships on this podcast. Now let's flip it a little bit. Walking away isn't quitting. Walking away is a decision made from knowing your limits. Sometimes you cried all your tears. You prayed all the prayers. You begged, you bargained, and all you got in return was silence, resistance, and manipulation. So you start to wonder, what if love just ain't enough? And you're right to ask that question, because love is beautiful. But love without safety is chaos. And love without change, well, it's just pain with a pretty name. Let me give you a checklist. If these sound like your life, it might be time to start packing. Not just your bags, but your peace. They keep lying, even after getting caught. They refuse therapy, coaching, or help of any kind. You feel more anxious with them than you do without them. You're constantly being gaslit or blamed for their choices. Your body is breaking down, which looks like stress, insomnia, and digestive issues. You keep lowering your standards just to keep the peace. Your kids are witnessing emotional warfare, and you lost sight of who you are in order to hold it together. But lastly, you've already forgiven, but you still feel unsafe. Now, just as I gave you the red flags, here are your green ones. Here's how you know the breakthrough might actually be real, that's worth rebuilding for you to stay. They took full accountability without being forced, without you having to remind them or give them the words. They've shown consistent change, not just a 2-week apology sprint. They're in therapy or coaching on their own. They comfort you when you're triggered instead of getting defensive. They've restructured how they communicate, show up, and create safety. You're seeing real vulnerability, not just guilt. You feel seen, supported, and respected by them. And lastly, you're not walking on eggshells anymore. Because real healing doesn't require silence. It invites conversation. I want y'all to get y'all journals, if you can right now. Write this at the top of the page. If nothing changed from this day forward, would I be okay staying? Now answer that. Take some time to think about it. And don't write what sounds good. Write what's true to you. Because the answer to that one question will tell you everything you need to know. So I had this client say to me, I've been with my husband 10 years. He cheated 2 years ago and we've stayed together. He says he's sorry and we've done therapy, but I still feel numb. I keep asking myself if staying is making me stronger or just more tired. And I'm also asking myself, why are we doing therapy a second time around? So I said to her, I hear the weight in your questions. Let me give you this. Strength isn't how long you hold on. It's knowing when to let go with love. If the only thing keeping you together is history, then you're already living in the past. Let me give y'all another story. There were a couple named Kamani and Zari. Kamani go by she, her, and Zari goes by he, him. They stayed together after Zari cheated. They have 2 kids, a mortgage, all the things that couples had. And Zari went to therapy and did the work and changed his behaviors. But Kamani, she never came back emotionally. She said to me, I stayed for the family, but I don't think my soul ever forgave him. She was living in a beautiful prison. And eventually she left, not in anger, but in freedom. Because sometimes the breakthrough isn't staying. It's realizing you don't belong in that story anymore. Let me say this real soft and real clear. Just because you stayed doesn't mean you healed. And just because you left doesn't mean you failed. You can love someone and still choose yourself. You can honor the relationship and still release it. We don't demonize people here. We don't make them monsters, but we do hold them accountable. Because betrayal was a choice. Healing, that's yours. Can I give y'all a poem to bring that one home for you? I stayed too long in a house with no doors, painted windows to feel like hope, folded my freedom into their comfort, and called it loyalty. But healing whispered, there's more than survival. And I walked out, barefoot and brave. If you're still unsure what to do, take your time, but don't take forever. Get support, a coach, a therapist, a circle that sees you. And if you need a place to start, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hearts Wine from Hearts Distractions. Go to my website at www.aliciasdistractions.com, where yes, you can connect with me if you want a coach to help you walk through this, or if you need any resources, I'm willing to give those to you. Okay, we've unpacked the betrayal. We've named the myths, we walked through forgiveness, we held the weight of walking away, and the work of choosing to stay. Now we're here. This is the moment after the storm, when the tears are quieter, when the silence becomes spacious, when you look at your partner or yourself and ask, what now? How do we rebuild what was broken? Because even if you choose to stay or start fresh with someone new, or focus on healing solo, there's still a next step. And that step is made up of rituals. A rebuilding ritual is a consistent, intentional practice that says, I'm committed to healing, not just once, but every day. It's not grand, it's not flashy, it's not even always romantic, but it is sacred. Because y'all, trust doesn't come back because someone said they're sorry. Trust returns when someone shows up the same way every day. So let's break down the tools that help you do that, whether you're in a relationship or healing on your own. Let me give y'all a quick therapy brain moment because you know I love my receipts, right? Neuroscience tells us that repetition creates new neural pathways. That means every time your partner chooses vulnerability instead of defensiveness, trust grows. Every time you express a boundary with clarity, safety builds. Every time you both show up for a ritual, even on a hard day, the body learns peace again. Our nervous systems are like toddlers. They need routine to feel safe. Consistency isn't boring. It's what keeps us from spiraling back into fear. If y'all are trying to rebuild after betrayal, here are 5 daily or weekly rituals that can change everything for you. First one, 5-minute truth huddle. Every night, take 5 minutes before bed and answer these 2 questions. What did I do today that helped build trust between us? What did I do or not do today that might have made trust harder? No arguing, no justifying, just naming and listening. It creates emotional check-ins that don't feel like therapy sessions, but build therapeutic trust. Number 2, the State of the Union weekly meeting. Taking 30 minutes every Sunday, sitting down with each other, no phones, or a drink or two, having candles lit, being able to talk about what went well in your week, what fell off or unsafe, one thing you appreciated from each other, and one thing you need more of. If a relationship check-in, it's a relationship checkup, not a fight. And if you miss a week, restart. Don't shame yourself, just recommit. Number 3, the glass table rule. This one is about transparency, y'all. When you're in rebuilding mode, any phone or laptop that enters shared space is face up, no hiding. It's not surveillance, it's a symbolic access. You're showing your partner, there's nothing I'm hiding, my life is visible, and you are safe. Eventually, you won't need this, but in early rebuilding stages, it matters. And number 4, the shared calendar ritual. Put both calendars in one place. An app, paper planner, whatever. When plans change, text or call. Don't wait to be asked. It may sound small, but betrayal often came with secrets around where people were and who they were with. So shared calendars rebuild a sense of emotional orientation. And 5, non-sexual intimacy dates. Once a week, choose a way to be physically present without the pressure of sex. Here's some ideas for y'all. Massage each other's hands while music plays. Take a walk and hold hands. Lay in bed and play 20 questions. Read a poem out loud. Yes, get my book, Distractions of the Heart. That works beautifully here. And watch a romantic movie and actually cuddle with no phones. Intimacy is about connection, not just climax. And if you walked away, or if your partner isn't ready for the work, let me bless you with rituals for solo recovery. The first one, the mirror talk. Every morning, look at yourself in the mirror, put your hand over your heart and say, I am worthy of love, safety, softness, and truth. I did not cause their betrayal, and I am not hard to love. Say it until your nervous system believes it. 2, Sunday solo check-in. Write these down. Journal every Sunday if you have to. What did I learn about myself this week? What triggered me? What soothed me? What do I want to feel more of next week? Healing is directional, not just emotional. This gives you a compass. And 3, unfollow, delete, block with intention. It's not petty. It's not mean. It's necessary. Curate a digital space where healing is possible. If their presence online keeps you spiraling, you already know what to do. And don't get it twisted. You don't need to do all these rituals at once. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be intentional. Healing is not a vibe, it's a practice. It's in the moments when you text instead of assume, pause instead of yell, walk away to breathe, not punish, ask for help, name your need, and try again tomorrow. That's the ritual. That's where trust slowly, gently, bravely grows again. Can I give you another small piece of a poem here to bring this home? We didn't start with soft. We started with sharp edges, broken glass in our voices, but you picked up my hand and placed it on your heartbeat and said, let's begin again. All right, ask yourselves today, What ritual does my healing need right now? What's one daily thing I can do to tell my nervous system you're safe here again? And what do I need from myself, my partner, or my environment to make consistency possible? Write it down, post it on your mirror, commit to it for 1 week, then come back, review, revise, and recommit. You don't just wake up one day fully healed. You show up day after day, building one brick at a time. And if the person behind you is willing to pick up those bricks too, you just might build something even stronger than what you had before. All right, here we are, y'all. The final pour. And if you made it this far, first of all, let me say, I see you, I honor you, and I'm proud of you. Because this episode wasn't easy. This one peeled back layers. It touched wounds, it stirred memories, and for some of you, it named something you didn't even realize was still lingering in your heart. So before we wrap up, I want to pour out some truth and then help you pour back into yourself. Let's go back to the core question. Can you ever fully trust again after betrayal? My answer, you can, but not the same way, and that's okay. You may never trust the same way again because you're not the same person anymore. That's innocence. That wide-eyed, open-hearted love. It's changed. But changed doesn't mean broken. Changed just means wiser. You'll trust again, but it'll be a trust that's rooted in clarity, not fantasy. A trust built on discernment, not denial. A trust that says, I can hold love and boundaries at the same time. I can hope and still require accountability. I can forgive and still protect my peace. The truth is, y'all, rebuilding trust with someone else will always start with rebuilding trust within yourself. Ask yourself, can I trust myself to recognize red flags? Can I trust myself to speak up when something feels off? Can I trust myself to walk away when I'm no longer being watered? Because if you can't trust your own voice after betrayal, you'll always hand someone else the pen and let them rewrite your story. But your healing, it starts and ends with you. Ava came to me after years of being the good wife. Her husband cheated, lied, repeated, apologized. She stayed, left, came back, and left again. And one day she said to me, I kept waiting to trust him again, but I never realized I stopped trusting myself a long time ago. That broke something in me, y'all. But it also rebirthed something in her. Ava's healing didn't start when he got it together. It started the day she sat in her own silence and said, I choose me. Fully, fearlessly, without apology. And that is the final pour. I'm going to give you a final poem before I wrap this up. I trusted you before I trusted me. Now I trust the way I flinch. I pause in my breath, the tears I used to swallow. I trust the whisper in my gut. I trust the softness I buried. I trust that I am not too much. I trust me. Now ask yourself, what version of me did I lose in this relationship? What part of me am I ready to reclaim? What does trusting myself look like moving forward? Maybe it's saying no without guilt, saying yes without fear, letting love in again, creating new standards, or simply learning to sit with your own company and call it peace. I want y'all to raise your glass, whatever's in it, even if it's water, even if it's tea and not wine. This moment right here deserves a toast. To the version of you that cried in silence, to the version of you that stayed when it was hard, to the version of you that left when it got too heavy, to the version of you that's still figuring it out, to the you that chose healing even when it was messy. Because this episode wasn't just about trust. It was about truth. It was about grace. It was about becoming. I want y'all to be able to subscribe to my YouTube channel on Hearts Wine from Harsh Distractions to be able to find free content. and exclusive episodes, I want y'all to visit my website, aliciasdistractions.com, for more resources and updates. Purchase a copy of my poetry book, Distractions of the Heart, on Amazon. Follow us on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. You are not alone in this. You are not too damaged to heal, and you are not too far gone to feel joy again. You deserve a relationship that feels like exhale. And whether that's with them or just with yourself, your healing is holy. From my heart to yours, thank you for sitting with me today. Thank you for trusting me to hold your story for just a little while. And thank you for letting me pour this glass of truth so we can sip healing together. This has been Heart's Wine from Harsh Distractions. And remember, our tears may spill, but they still make the finest wine. Cheers!